Welcome one and all, it's time for Warhammer the Old World Battle Report. 2,000 points, Dwarves, the Dwarven Mountain Holds to be precise, versus the Vile Warriors of Chaos. Let's dive in. So, before I go through the list, you may be thinking, that's a bit of a dark, dingy, gloomy, moody battlefield. What's going on? Why is the lighting not very good? Well, how's that grab you? So after taking the first picture, I then realised that inside the TSN arena, where this game was played, there were actually more lights that hadn't been activated yet by any of the people who were already playing. So, look at that. That's the kind of light level he's going to enjoy, apart from the occasions where my shadow will probably pass across the battlefield as I'm reaching over to take the pictures. So, we are playing the encirclement scenario from the square-based seasonal pack. You can see this is the terrain layout, and this one uses strategic locations 4 and baggage trains. So we have 4 strategic locations there, and for each one of those that you hold with a core unit with a unit strength of at least 10, then you can gain 30 points at the end of each player turn. And then you've got the baggage trains as well that can be either held at the end or destroyed by a unit with suitable unit strength, that being 5 or more. So for example, a unit of 2 gyrocopters could very well do it. Now, this is just pure 2,000 points. The square-based comp system is not being used here yet, which is going to give certain armies more points at 2,000 points. So for example, the Dwarven Mountain Holds are going to be getting an extra 400 for square-based events, and this particular Warriors of Chaos army here would be getting another 200 to help balance things a little bit. Let's dive straight into my list then. We have got, let's start with the characters down at this end. We've got Burlock Daminson, who is perched next to these rangers here, along with the Runesmith. The Runesmith has full plate armor and a shield. We have then got some more characters back here. We've got 2 shield bearer characters in this Iron Drake unit. We've got the King, who is down here, and the King has a great weapon, shield, master rune of adamant for the toughness 10, and rune of warding. So what did him in at the tournament recently, despite being toughness 10, a killing blow still managed to kill him. So the rune of warding is just a 1-use 2+ ward save. So anytime maybe a killing blow is about to strike him down, that could be something useful. Or if he gets hit by, for example, a cannon, then it would be very useful to have a 2+ ward save against that kind of nonsense. Then we have got the BSB Thane on shield bearers as well, also in this unit. And the Thane has the Master Rune of Grungni, Rune of Battle, so the 5+ ward save banner and +1 combat resolution banner. And then a handgun with the Master Rune of Bursting Flame, Rune of Rapid Fire, and Rune of Accuracy. So the exploding handgun of Doom that fires 2 shots, always hit on 3s, and they explode into 2d3 hits each. So, very scary prospect for enemies. Then, we've also got a Doomseeker, you can see has already made a Vanguard move out of the lines, backwards, because he wants to show off his butt to the enemy for extra intimidation factor. And the Doomseeker obviously did not become an unreliable mercenary in this game because he's there deploying as he should do, doesn't have any restrictions on him. Then, that's all the characters then. So core, we've got 19 Dwarf Warriors with hand weapon and shield, and full command. Then we've got the Rangers, we've got 20 of those, with shields, great weapons, crossbows, throwing axes, full command, Rune of Courage to stop them from taking fear and terror checks, because we don't want them running away. And it's my usual choice on Rangers, because occasionally they'll be deploying in a strange position, sometimes with part of their base near the edge of the battlefield, so you don't want them having any chance of just running away when charged by something that causes terror, which is usually going to be the kind of thing that thinks it can tackle such a tough unit anyway. You're going to have like dragons who maybe want to charge into them. And they're not bad against things like dragons anyway, with their great weapons potentially to hit back with, if they choose to use those. We've got Thistle Brew and Old Dirts in the chat. Good evening, or morning apparently, for at least one person in there. Then, Those are the two core units. Those are the only units I've got that can actually score on the objectives throughout the game. Oh yeah, I didn't mention the other Doomseeker. So we've got two Doomseekers, one there and one there. The one with the big butt that's facing towards the enemy has the Master Rune of Alaric the Mad and Warrior's Rune, so +1 weapon skill, and does not allow armor saves on any of his attacks. And with the Doomseeker special rules, his impact hits also use his weapons, basically. So that means no armor saves against anything. So impact hits and all his attacks, no armor saves allowed. Very scary, the kind of thing you don't want to let charge you. And the other Doomseeker is just naked Doomseeker, 50 points. Nothing on him at all, just running around as nature intended. In special, we've got a single gyrocopter with a clatter gun, and then over on the left, we've got two gyrocopters with clatter guns. So you can see I've already made vanguard moves towards the enemy a bit. This is the Cabbage Squadron. I've dropped one of the gyros from the list because it's kind of unwieldy to use the metal one and take it to events, unfortunately. I'm going to invest in some more gyrocopters though, so I can actually run the full amount without having to get the metal one out. It is just very likely to fall apart and it's annoying to transport. Then we've got 16 Iron Drakes with full command, no torpedo because they're lame, but they do have Cinderblast bombs on the champion for a nice bit of stand and shoot or short range action. And that is the entire army. So let's go through the Forces of Chaos and then I'll tell you my plans. So let's have a look here. We have got a Chaos Lord on a dragon with a halberd. And what else? Halberd, shield, Mark of Nurgle, which is the usual, and one Favour of the Gods, so one reroll on the Eye of the Gods, which is what you can afford to fit within the 500 point character limit. Then there is an Exalted Champion on foot, who is the BSB, who is in, I believe it is this one that is actually the standard. Oh, it'll be this one here. There's a regular standard there, and I think this one's the BSB character, the slightly fancier looking one. So, Mark of Nurgle, Battle Standard Bearer with Icon of Darkness, which is -1 to shoot at them. And Armour of Silvered Steel, and Diabolic Splendor. Or Diabolic Splendor, if you prefer. Then there is an Exalted Sorcerer, who is level 1, Mark of Nurgle, just to try and give this unit some additional toughness. And let's see, yeah, battle magic, but he's going to be picking the Nurgle spell with the one spell, Enchanting Aura. So with the items on this unit, there are two sources of -1 to hit, and I don't know of any particular reason why they wouldn't stack from shooting anyway. -2 in the shooting phase specifically, which is also important because my understanding is that that does not affect stand and shoot, because that's not done in the shooting phase. So, what else have we got here? We've got 19 Chaos Warriors with halberds, shields. They have the Mark of Nurgle. They have a brazen collar for magic resistance, which won't matter in this game at all. The full command and the Banner of Iron Resolve. Then, over on this side, we've got 20 Marauders with great weapons, light armor, Mark of Khorne, and a Musician and a Chieftain. So some scary Marauders there. Then at the back, there are 12 Marauders in skirmish formation with light armor, shields, Mark of Undivided, and then there's a Warpfire Dragon as well, which is over here on the right. So let's go back to the wide shot and have a look at what my strategy is here. So, obviously, the Iron Drakes are positioned right behind this hill, so turn 1, they're going to be able to get on there and do lots of shooting from the hill, maximum shots. Now, there are some large targets to shoot at, so they don't necessarily need to be on a hill to maximise their shots, but if they end up having to shoot at these Chaos Warriors, it wouldn't be the ideal target because it's -2 to hit, specifically against that unit in the shooting phase, but obviously the stand and shoot is quite potent, and the Thane with the Handgun of Doom does not care about your negative modifiers. He's always going to be hitting on 3s regardless, so he doesn't care about that, so he could be a good one to be shooting at the Chaos Warriors. The Cabbage Squadron are aiming to go around the back, and if the enemy baggage train is only guarded by a few marauders. They might fancy their chances going in there and taking them on. Maybe this one can go around and help out as well, and get all three going after the cabbage and force more enemies to stay back. If both units of marauders have to stay, I would like that very much. The rangers are positioned with a scout deployment, so they are within range to score on this objective here, but they're also close enough so that Burlock and the Runesmith can immediately jump into that unit and stop them suffering the -1 for shooting at long range, and also give them extra armor bane. And flaming attacks isn't necessarily great, because the Warpfire Dragon actually gets an extra save against that, but I think the extra armor bane balances that out, and it's worth having him in there anyway, increasing their magic resistance as well. The Doomseekers are going to try and be a bit tactical for once, rather than just gunning straight towards the enemy. This is the one on the left here that doesn't allow armor saves, so the enemy are going to be very cautious of him. This one maybe not so much, so he's going to be a bit more aggressive. This one I'm going to try and use to hopefully not get charged. Maybe I'll try and hide him behind these trees over here, and then if the enemy want to come forward, they then leave themselves open to being charged by a Doomseeker, which is not going to be exciting for them because they're going to take some serious damage, I think, with no armor saves allowed. The two characters both being in the Iron Drake unit. So if the Chaos Dragon gets in here, I can accept the challenge with my toughness 10 king, because there's no killing blow on the other side, so it's going to be very difficult to inflict any wounds. And then I've got the ward save also from the BSB in this unit, and I've got a Rune of Battle for the combat res, I've got a rank, I've got an infantry unit outnumbering the enemy, so I don't think one dragon on its own is going to cut it here. So the dragon would have to go in with something else. If it goes in with, let's say, the Warpfire Dragon, then how do we feel about that? Two dragons going in at the same time. There would still be the issue of the challenge, but the Warpfire Dragon would be able to try and step on a load of the Iron Drakes. They would have a ward save though, so that would be interesting. And if the Chaos Warrior block goes in at the same time, they would potentially just be a very juicy target for the stunned and shoot to bulk up the combat res in my favour. I wouldn't be suffering those negative modifiers because it wouldn't be the shooting phase. So I quite like my chances, and if no one's going after the Rangers, if the Warpfire and the Chaos Lord and Dragon, for instance, both of them go in here together, and I win and push them back, then they're in prime position to be shot at by Rangers who don't care about long range, and point blank Iron Drake, Cinderblast Bomb, the Thane, the Gyrocopters potentially, right in this little killing zone that I'm overlooking with the Rangers in case everything goes down the middle. And I don't know if anyone else is fast enough to keep up with those two if they want to get in early. So we'll see what they do anyway, because I'm curious to see where these dragons are going to go. Do they go straight into the Iron Drakes, which is almost certain doom? Do they go for the Dwarf Warriors and maybe try and get through there and go for the Cabbages? Even though the Iron Drakes could just turn around and shoot them, so you'd have to have some kind of threat on this side as well. Let's find out. So, oh, you can see the Slayer butt, there you go, facing towards the enemy. The Succulent Cheeks. And cinematic over the shoulder of the Iron Drake's shot as well. And into turn 1, so Chaos choose to go first after winning the roll, and you can see the Eye of the Gods was rolled, and the Exalted BSB becomes stupid immediately, and the Sorcerer gains +1 strength, +1 leadership. So from next turn there will be stupidity tests required for this unit. That was with the reroll as well, it still rolled a 1, so quite amusing. The Chaos Lord gets a temporary +1 toughness buff, which is going to make him a bit trickier to shoot at. So, yep, that was turn 1. The Warpfire Dragon hilariously misfired with its Stone Thrower attack and wounded itself. So, nothing of mine has been hurt yet, but the Warpfire Dragon has hurt itself, and the Exalted Champion has become stupid, which is going to corrupt his entire unit, potentially. Now, is there a case here for the BSB getting out of the unit during this turn? Because he's stupid now. So he's kind of dragging the whole unit down with him, because if they fail a stupidity test, that's the whole unit that isn't moving and not casting spells. So if you fail the test on a character that's not the wizard, would you be tempted to pile them out of the unit to not drag them down? so the stupidity test would only affect the lone character. That's something I would be thinking about. I don't know whether I would actually do it. It depends what the likelihood is of the character being killed if he was out there on his own, I think. So let me know what you think anyway. If you've got a character that becomes stupid but the rest of the unit isn't, would you extract them from the unit, given that you can do that, because you won't be taking the stupidity test until next turn? Let me know what you think about that idea. So, 60 points scored each. We've both got 2 objectives each with our core units. Into my turn 1. The Rangers open fire into the Warp Fire Dragon, and I don't think they accomplished too much, but they were actually able to shoot him from this position. A lot of them can see him. The Iron Drakes and the Thane BSB with the Handgun of Doom open fire onto the enemy dragon and knock down some wounds from him, which is really good. And the Doomseeker is moving up, but not to within range of the Chaos Warriors. Don't really want to get charged by them, because then there's a chance they could just have a big juicy overrun and bypass all my stand and shoot. So the angle I've got him at, if the dragon wanted to charge him, I'm not sure if he's actually in range, he may well be, then he would not overrun into the Iron Drake unit. He'd just be standing there, ready for my turn where I could shoot him at point blank range with all my guns. The gyrocopters, you can see, went around the side and they opened fire as well, but they didn't accomplish much. The gyrocopters are not the best if they want to shoot at the Chaos Warriors, because there's -2 to hit against that unit. As I said, with the buffs, they've got the banner and the upgrades on the characters in there. You can see the D3 there. That is a very vibrant coloration of those dice there. So I think I hit once with the Thane and then rolled a 2 and a 3 on the D3. I like having these actual D3, but you do have to tell your opponent that's what they are, because if you throw the dice and it's a 2 and you try and throw then 2 attacks, they might say, what's going on here? A 2 on a dice, that means 1 with a D3. So you do have to explain that it is actually a proper D3. So not a huge amount accomplished that turn, but we have chipped damage onto the dragon and got the gyrocopters in position to where they can't be charged as well. So scoring evenly and into the enemy turn. Well, the Eye of the Gods, the sorcerer, gets even more strength and leadership, and they fail the stupidity test though. Wow, wow, wow. So, stupid. Because the test is done before the Eye of the Gods roll, so before the leadership of the unit was increased. I believe it's to 10 now, but there was a 10 rolled when it was still 9 leadership. So they are stupid, so they can't go anywhere, this unit now. They're stuck there for a turn. The dragon then tries to charge into the Doomseeker and rolls a distance of 4 plus its movement, and I think it needed a couple more inches than that, which you would expect to make with the Swift Stride as well, but very low rolling on the charge, so did not hit the Doomseeker. So the dragon just trundles forward a little bit, and the enemy are kind of in the shooting gallery. And that's about all that happens. The Warpfire Dragon fires its breath weapon, its stone thrower breath, at the gyrocopter, but it scatters off harmlessly. It does not damage itself this time though, so that's a bonus for the Warpfire Dragon. And continuing to score evenly-ish. However, this unit, because they're now stupid and they have succumbed to the effects of stupidity, can now no longer score objectives until they're not stupid anymore. So only 30 points for Chaos that turn, 60 for Dwarves, so taking the lead a little bit there. Into my turn 2. The Rangers open fire at the Warpfire Dragon and do 2 damage. A lot of them can't see it anymore because it's behind this hill, but the ones that can, they manage to knock a couple of wounds off it. So it should be worried now. With only 3 wounds remaining as a dragon, you should be scared. Although the camera seems to want to focus on the gyrocopter instead. This unit of Chaos Warriors takes some casualties, and that's because I got my Handgun Thane out of the Iron Drake's unit and shot at them, and got 8 hits with it. So the reason I got him out of the unit is so I could fire at something different, because I didn't want the Iron Drakes to fire at the Chaos Warriors, because it's -2 to hit them. But he doesn't care about such things, so 4 of them are dead. They should really be taken off from one side, but it doesn't really matter here. And then the Iron Drakes take aim at the dragon and knock a wound off that as well, so that's down to 6 wounds now. And the Doomseeker is perched all the way over here, even further away from the Iron Drakes now, so if you want to charge me, dragon, it's going to drag you further out of the action again, and then I'm still going to be able to turn around and shoot you. And this Doomseeker isn't really in any danger, he's just going to walk towards the enemy until he gets into a fight, basically. The Gyrocopter's staying out of harm's way so they can't be charged by anything, and just shooting and being annoying until we can converge onto the enemy cabbages. So I extend the lead because this unit is still stupid, so they can't score more points for the turn. Turn 3 for the Forces of Chaos. The dragon does charge Alric Big Butts, the Doomseeker. And if you don't kill him, then he can actually do some serious damage back to you, Mr. Chaos Dragon, so you better hope you get him. The Warp Fire Dragon, well, wouldn't you know, it misfires again, trying to shoot the Gyrocopter. So, it's all very well having a stone thrower in theory, but if you keep rolling misfires on it. So it's done 2 wounds to itself, and I've done 2 wounds to it over the course of the game, I think, so far. I believe, or maybe I've done 3. How many does it start with? Does it have 6 wounds? Okay, so I've done 2 and it's done 2 to itself. The dragon does kill the Doomseeker and overruns into this direction. And you can see this unit of Chaos Warriors are not stupid anymore, and they're advancing on the Iron Drakes. So it's time to do some more shooting. Turn 3 for me. So the one Gyrocopter that was over here somewhere jumps over or flies over the Warpfire Dragon and just shoots into the back of the Marauders and kills a couple of them. The 2 Gyrocopters here charge into the skirmish Marauders that were on the baggage train, and hoping to win that, push them back so I'm on the train and then can later destroy it. The Iron Drakes, well, considering it's -2 to hit against this unit, that is massive damage there. So the Iron Drakes themselves actually did a fair number of hits despite being at -2. -3 for long range, so many of them were on 6s, but they still got a few hits in, and obviously the Thane with his handgun has rejoined the unit again and did a lot of damage there, so that unit is now not much of a threat anymore. Doomseeker's heading over that way as well. And extending the lead again because I'm still holding these 2 objectives. I think the Rangers did some shooting into them as well, into the Chaos Warriors. And they may have done a little bit of damage because they don't care about long range, so they'd be hitting on 5s. The ones that didn't have any cover from the Doomseeker, so like from about here, I think. These ones at this end probably didn't have any cover. So how many is that? About 5 maybe? And so the Gyrocopters do kill some of these guys, but do not nudge them off the edge of the table. Except they do. There they go. So they failed their leadership test after I won the combat. They panicked and fled. And I thought, if we could look at the position here, I didn't want them to roll very low and end up occupying the baggage train. So I wanted to guarantee they died. And I'm thinking that that was actually a mistake. So what I probably should have done here is not, or tried not to pursue them. Because there's a pretty good chance they're going to die when they flee here, because they're going to be fleeing in that sort of direction. So they're going to pass through their own unit, pass through the Gyrocopter, and then touch the edge of the table and die. So I don't feel like I need to pursue them, but I choose to because I want to make sure they die. But what actually happens is that they flee, and then I overrun into the much more scary Great Weapon Marauder units, which I don't really want to be fighting, and that's going to change my game plan a bit now. So I'll put that down as a mistake. Just getting too overeager trying to finish off units to get points, I think. Yeah, so that was in the enemy turn, that one, I think. Was it? No, actually it wasn't. And you can see that this dragon, I believe, had the option of... Let's have a look. Yeah, I think in the enemy turn it just turned round. So it was on the enemy turn, I think, that I finally won the combat and pushed those guys back, potentially, there. So, I'm continuing to rack up a little bit of a lead, because obviously the enemy can't score this now because they're below unit strength 10. So I'm going to keep building up a lead on the secondary objectives there. So my turn 4. And the Gyrocrops at the back decided, okay, if they've gone in the front, I might as well join in as well and give us a chance to actually win this combat against the Great Weapon Marauders. But as you can see, it does not go very well. 2 dead copters, and this one is wounded as well. The Iron Drakes, though, they put another wound, I think, onto the Chaos Dragon. And the Doomseeker charges into the flank of the Chaos Warriors, gets into a challenge with the BSB. Does not kill it, though. This is only the Doomseeker that's naked. You can see the Iron Drakes have turned round. And you might think that this is not the best idea, charging the Doomseeker in there. But if they'd killed the Doomseeker and then it overran, they would have hit this end of the unit where the Toughness 10 King is living. So I wouldn't have minded that too much. And I thought it was worth it to turn around to get some shots in on the dragon anyway. So, still in the lead, turn 5 for Chaos. So, the dragon decides that he doesn't want to fight the Iron Drakes. Just flies over their heads and he's eyeing up the baggage train and the Dwarf Warriors. Then, over here you can see that the Chaos Warriors, well, the champion did manage to kill off the Doomseeker this time, and then they overran and did not quite touch the Iron Drakes. If they did, I wouldn't have been too disappointed though, because like I said, there's a Toughness 10 King right there. So I think I still would have won the combat. The final Gyrocopter is killed in this turn, unfortunately, so we're down Gyrocopters now. So I've killed some Marauders, I've killed a lot of Chaos Warriors, but not points-wise. I haven't got points for them because I haven't finished off the unit or got them. How many were in that unit? Let me double check to see whether I'm actually scoring anything for them right now as it stands. There were 19. How many's left? So there's 2 characters in there. So there's 4 left. So I have actually got them down to 25% or less. So I will be scoring something for them. And my turn 5 then. So in this position here, I think the only thing to do, because the Warpfire Dragon's hiding, so I don't need to worry about that now, because it's scared of being killed, because it's only got 2 wounds left, and I think it's right to be scared. I'm just going to turn everybody around, reform the Iron Drakes, turn around the Rangers, and just shoot everything I've got into the dragon, try and bring it down. So my turn 5, turn round, showing no regard for this unit in the flank at all, and get the dragon down to 2 wounds now, so he's definitely in the danger zone, with all that shooting blasting into him. And the turns are getting pretty quick now. There's not a lot of units left. So what have I lost? I've lost the Gyrocopters and the Doomseekers. So the Copters are worth about 200-ish points for the 3 of them. I've killed some Marauders. I've got the slight edge on the objectives. The baggage trains don't look in too much danger. And this dragon's almost dead. So if I can kill this dragon, that would definitely give me the win, I think. So turn 6 for the enemy. The dragon charges into the Dwarf Warriors. Obviously is going to get in a challenge with my champion and hopefully lose combat. And the Chaos Warriors go into the flank of the Iron Drakes where the Toughness 10 King resides. So I don't think they're going to beat me there. The Dwarf Warriors win 6-4 in the combat resolution here, because they're just a solid little unit that outnumbers the enemy, and they've got a banner, they've got ranks. The champion does die, but doesn't take that many wounds on the overkill, and pushes the dragon back and manages to restrain and not have to fight it again. The Chaos Warriors lose combat on combat res there, so it's like I've got 7 and the enemy have got 3. Push them back, and then I restrain and turn round and look at the dragon, because that's what I'm going to be doing in the last turn, trying to shoot the dragon again. The Warpfire Dragon is still hiding, so that thing has really not participated in the game. So my opponent was saying afterwards that he thinks maybe the Warpfire Dragon should have gone in either with this dragon or just into the main fight in general, and I do agree with that. Staying back using the Rock Lobber isn't a particularly good use of your time unless you've got a really juicy target, and I've just seen in the chat. Tizzy says, I've never seen that stone thrower attack do anything. Considering each wound the dragon has is worth 63 points, I would never even try shooting the stone thrower. So, times it's worth firing the Warpfire Dragon stone thrower. if there's nothing you can charge and you can shoot, for example, what's expensive that you can kill with a stone thrower? Like an enemy cannon or something. Any kind of war machine that's over 100 points would be something I would consider a worthy target if you're not in a position where you need to be moving further than that. If you're just setting up to charge in the next turn, then I could understand it being worth it there. But I think it definitely should have been going in, getting stuck into combat, because none of my big fighter units are scratched at all. They haven't even been attacked, really. And the Dwarf Warriors have only been engaged in combat once, so I managed to keep the enemy at arm's reach. These Chaos Warriors failing the stupidity test meant this dragon was going in on its own and didn't fancy his chances against the Iron Drakes at all. So with Warp Fire backing him up, I would have also had to hesitate a little bit, maybe rotating around to shoot at things so much willy-nilly if there were multiple dragons in multiple facings. So yeah, I think the Warp Fire maybe should have been more aggressive. So then into my turn 6, and all the Rangers, all the Iron Drakes, shoot into the dragon and kill it. Take its final wound, down it goes. The Thane BSB popped out the unit because I was so confident everyone else would get the job done, and shot down a load more Chaos Warriors, but there's still one left in the unit, one regular Chaos Warrior. So that means I'm not going to get maximum points for that unit. But that is where the game is going to end. So I end up with quite a big lead on the victory points here, because I spent the entire game actually scoring both of these two, and the enemy spent most of the game not scoring this one. So I got quite a nice lead from that. I got the Marauders, I got most of the Chaos Warriors killed, and then the dragon finished it off there. So without the dragon, even though it looks a bit one-sided, it would have only been, in tournament scoring, it would have been 11-9 to the Dwarves before the dragon got killed. At that point, I think that turns it into maybe a 13-7 with all the points for the dragon. So even then, it's not that huge, because there's a lot of heroes that are quite expensive still alive. The Warpfire Dragon's still alive. We both held on to our own cabbages at the end of the game, so that just cancelled out. We didn't manage to pillage any cabbage at all. So, really, I think the single enemy dragon that was able to get to my lines wasn't really set up to deal with any of these units. Maybe this one, but even then, fighting the champion the first round, so you're probably going to lose the combat and get pushed away, and then everything shoots you. And the kind of shooting that I've got, the Rangers, who are going to be wounding the dragon on 6s anyway, so that's what they're looking for those 6s, with the Runesmith in there, so those 6s become AP 4, so you're not even getting an armor save against the Rangers. The Iron Drakes are strength 5, so they wound the dragon on 5s rather than 6s, so that's quite a big deal as well, being much more likely to wound it, and having some nice armor bane for them as well. The BSB was then able to focus on other units that I wasn't as good at shooting at because of the negative shooting modifiers on here, so it was only really worth shooting with this guy at various points when I had other targets. So all in all, went very well. The gyrocopters, obviously that was a bit of a mistake there, so really the gyrocopters should have just been more evasive and not engaged at all, and that would have made it a slightly bigger margin of victory, because I don't think those Marauders were ever going to leave the cabbages alone, because they knew I was straight on there, like a flash if they move. Maybe this big unit of Marauders with great weapons could have moved up and got into a fight. The problem you're going to have, though, is they're not very armoured, and I think they're only toughness 3. So you're just going to get shot down into oblivion by these Rangers. So I don't know. It's a tough one. You need something else. You need like the Warpfire Dragon to draw the fire, potentially. But then there's a chance that could get killed if you take a few rounds of crossbow shots from 20 Rangers. I think this Dwarf list is just pretty good, actually. I quite like it. I think it's almost the tournament list that I played with a couple of weeks ago. Took out one gyrocopter because I don't want to use the metal one anymore, and I put a one-off 2+ ward save onto the toughness 10 king there, and the Doom Seekers. I think I brought one extra Doom Seeker in and tooled up one of them. So if I continue running this list with the Dwarves, what would I add in with the extra 400 points they're going to get from the square-based comp? So this army obviously does certain things very well. it doesn't necessarily do massive damage to enemies that stay away from me. So do I invest in something like War Machines with those free points basically, and bring something that's going to entice the enemy to come closer to me, or is adding War Machines just going to give the enemy something that's easier to gobble up and chase after and ignore my big units? That's an interesting one. Do I bring in something like an organ gun to lock down an area of the battlefield from infantry, who would be very scared of it, or cavalry? Do I bring in another character and another unit? With 400 points, what could I get? I couldn't bring Ungrim and a unit for him to go in, because they'd be too expensive. I could bring in a fighter unit. I could bring another shooter unit, a big unit of Thunderers, and then a load of other stuff. Miners probably not going to be chosen, unfortunately, even though they're fun, because their rules just aren't very good, sadly. It's a tough one. What do you do with extra points? Because at 2,600, I usually have the Ranger unit much bigger. So a massive unit of Rangers instead of just the 20. I can get up to about 30, I think. At least 30 with the models I've got, so I can have a much bigger Ranger unit. I can add more runes onto things. I can add a few more Iron Drakes. So do I just expand the units? Do I bring in more Doomseekers, more tooled up Doomseekers with the extra points? Let me know what you think in the comments anyway. What would you spend those extra 400 points on? If this is the list archetype I'm going for, how would you spend it? Droodle says, is it worth it to purchase useless items for heroes if you have points left over? Well, some of the heroes I've got are already up to their runic allowance, so I wouldn't be able to spend any more on them. I don't think the king can have much else. But there is one exciting development, actually, that I should mention. So, I made a purchase from someone in the US of A for some classic metal dwarves, and one of them is Thorgrim on the throne, which actually fits nicely, or so I believe, onto a 50mm base, so I could have a third character on shield bearers. I don't know what that one would do. It would allow me to have the 3 units all with a very powerful shield bearer character inside them. So I've got one that's toughness 10, I've got the BSB, maybe I have another one that's really good at killing things. The one that does like D6 wounds with its weapon. That could be worth thinking about. Let me know what you think about that as well. I've also got some metal longbeards in that parcel as well. The classic 90s ones. I do need to get some shields for them. But longbeards could be an option very soon. So that's exciting because they can be a core unit and they're slightly better than regular dwarf warriors. It's a shame that iron breakers aren't too good, sadly, because they're not core, obviously, so they can't score objectives, and they miss out on being able to parry to improve their save, because their save is already good, which you already pay for. So they're slightly better against shooting than other infantry. So, and they are stubborn, so I don't think their rules are necessarily bad. It's just that, for their price, other units can almost be as well armoured as them now in certain situations. So it's sad for iron breakers. But maybe I would like to try and build a list with them in it. Maybe they'd be a good combo as just a really tough, impossible to crack block with the toughness 10 king in there with the iron breakers. That would be interesting to try one day. Okay, it's time to wrap this one up. A late night battle report. The reason that it's tonight is because, well, I normally do them on Friday if the game is on a Thursday. But I was up very late last night painting for the Age of Sigmar tournament that I'm playing in this weekend. Already 3 games down, 2 more tomorrow. And I believe the clocks go back tonight, so I'll get an extra hour of sleep. So that's nice. Okay, let's wrap this one up. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, including the various social media shenanigans. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And if you want to keep the tide of non-stop battle reports flowing, why not pledge your entire life savings in the Patreon or the PayPal link down there as well. which will pay for more of my tournament tickets. I did just buy like 15 tournament tickets all at the same time when they went up on sale at the TSN Arena, so loads of Old World, loads of Age of Sigmar. Some Old World at the standard points format and some foray as well, so you can see more of those 500 point events, people that find that exciting. So I thought that was a very fun event. Had a slightly different vibe, but still very good. Okay, I think that does pretty much it for the night. All that remains to be said, other than thanks for tuning in, is good night out there, whatever you are.